What is going on, all you Pokemon collecting maniacs out there? This is Ryan, the PikaPikaPapa, and one of my favorite things to do on this channel is to look at older videos, look at older data sets, look at older trends, and say, hey, listen, this is how things were performing back then. How are they performing now? Has anything fundamentally changed? Like, what has upset the apple cart? Like, to me, those are the most impactful and the most powerful videos that we can do, because just because something is performing a certain way at a certain point in time, we should come back and look at it at a future or later date, right? Like, there's no way for us to predict the future, but if we can understand the trends of the past, it can at least give us some confidence and some idea of what might possibly happen. Now, we can't control what Pokemon does, we can't control what the macro market does, we can't control what goes on in the world, but it certainly is a benefit to us. It's a tool in our tool belt. It helps us play chess when everybody else is playing checkers, when we can look at historical trends, and that's what we are doing today. So my God, it had to be 6-8 months ago. I can't even remember, but quite a while ago, I did a video series where I looked at Elite Trainer boxes versus booster boxes over time, and this was the most recent data set that I pulled from there. And it was really interesting to see the rate of return for Elite Trainer boxes versus the rate of return for booster boxes. Now, what did that look like? It looked like this. So this is the exact verbiage from back then. And I said, hey, listen, we're going to look at Elite Trainer boxes, Pokemon Center exclusive Elite Trainer boxes, and booster boxes from the last 8 years. At this point, this is from the last 9 years. And then we're going to look at the annualized ROI. So I included my little ROI calculator on here. I simply use it online, right? I never want people thinking that I'm doing some PikaPikaPaPa back of napkin math or anything. So you can see what we did through this video. Again, this is an older video series. We took MSRP for Elite Trainer boxes and booster boxes, and we just knocked 20% off. I know a lot of times you can get it for even cheaper than that, but we had to have a standardized original cost in order for this to make sense. So I just said, hey, listen, some people are going to buy the booster boxes in the 90 range. Some are going to buy them in the 140 range. We'll just start with MSRP for ETBs and booster boxes and knock 20% off and say that's our jumping off point. So I have Lost Origin highlighted here so you can follow through the math. So you'll see we took 20% off the MSRP, so that gave us a purchase price of $115, right? That is your amount invested. We invested $115. We bought a Lost Origin booster box, right? Then you'll see that when this video came out, however many months ago, the value of Lost Origin booster boxes was $161, which is right where the booster box is right now. It's amazing. You know, after the restock, it dropped in price, but now it's rebounded to the price that it was all those many moons ago. So amount returned is $161, right? And then you'll see down below, you have to put in the length. You have to put in the time frame. So when we did this, it had been out for 9 months. Now, 9 months is 0.75 years, right? So that's very important that you put in the time frame, because when we're trying to analyze and when we're trying to compare different products from different eras, it's not fair to look at an overall just ROI, because, hey, listen, some of the stuff from XY has had a lot more growth time on it. So we break it down into annualized. So then if you look on the right-hand side, it's going to show your investment gain, which went from $115, the purchase price of the booster box, to $161 value right now. That is a gain of $46. Your ROI is a cool 40% right there. But remember, that was less than a year's time frame. So when you annualize it out, you normalize it for a year, that gives you a 56.62% ROI, annualized ROI, excuse me. And you'll see that that's the number we have for the booster box right there. So what I did was I did this for all of them. Every single thing listed here, every single ETB, every single booster box, every single Pokemon Center exclusive ETB. We went way down the rabbit hole and we did all of that math. But then you all are so smart. We had some awesome comments down below and people were saying, hey, listen, the return on that doesn't tell the whole story, right? You have to think about storage and you have to think about the size. So what do? Only here on the PikaPikaPapa channel are we crazy enough to go ahead and break it down by cubic inch. So I got out my little ruler and measuring tape and I measured the cubic inches for booster boxes and the cubic inches for Elite Trainer boxes. And then we looked at the dollar gain by cubic inch by product. And of course, no surprise to any of us, even though the rate of return on ETBs was much higher, when you broke it down by per cubic inch, guess what? Booster boxes won hands down. So the whole point of that video was, does size matter? And the answer, of course, was a resounding yes, okay? But listen, look at some of these prices on here, okay? Remember, this was a while ago. And when I was putting this video together, it was really cool to look back at some of these team up booster boxes were going for $1,300. They're over $2,000 now. You look at Unbroken Bonds and Unified Minds, you know, in the high $400 range. Another one that's going for high $600 range right now. You know, even Cosmic Eclipse booster boxes right there, we're going for $678. Those are $800 and something now. I mean, you just go down and down. Ultra Prism at $432. Another one that's up at the $700 range. Celestial Storm. It was just really fun for me to go back and look at some of these. But what was interesting to me is I was shocked with the growth in the booster boxes. It kind of jumped off the page and I was like, hey, listen, the Elite Trainer box prices, even though this was from a while ago, they haven't moved much. So that led me to do this. What I did was I took all of the new prices that are live today. So you have the new price, the market price for Elite Trainer boxes, the market price for the Pokemon Center exclusive ETBs, and the market price for the booster boxes in there. And I went ahead and filled it in all the way down, all the way back to Phantom Forces. So the first list I stopped at Roaring Skies, but I added Primal Clash and Phantom Forces in there as well because I thought this would be really, really cool. So even though the fact that Elite Trainer boxes growth has slowed remarkably ever since we did that video last time, because the gap was so big, guess what? When you look from Chilling Reign all the way down, the rate of return for Elite Trainer boxes is still higher. Now, I want to be very clear. I'm not saying you should go out and invest in Sword and Shield era Elite Trainer boxes, right? The era for Elite Trainer boxes in the Sun and Moon and the XY space, totally different than nowadays. But it's interesting to see that in those original sets that the Elite Trainer boxes really outperform the booster boxes. But I will say this, the gap is closing quickly, right? Like one of the things that I said earlier was that all those booster boxes were up, but the Elite Trainer boxes were about the same. So even though Elite Trainer boxes had this huge gap earlier, the overall return on investment gap is starting to close with the booster boxes right there. And then of course, as I said earlier, like, hey, listen, if you factor in size, booster boxes win hands down. I'm fortunate. I don't live in a huge house or anything, but I do have a couple spare rooms at my parents' house where they let me keep my stuff under air. So I have storage isn't an issue for me. Shipping down the road might be, but I'll tell you right now, storage isn't an issue for me. So I'm kind of looking for the great rate of return. The other thing that I thought was really cool when I was doing this, and it kind of made me think, and I'm sure I'm going to do a video on it here in the next month, but this is a great example of finding products that are kind of underloved, right? When you think about why XY Elite Trainer boxes are worth so much, I mean, look at Phantom Forces is $2,500. No, I'm sorry, $2,400. Primal Clash is $2,500. Roaring Skies is $1,100. Ancient Origins is $1,250, right? That's because Elite Trainer boxes, they just didn't make a lot of them, and they weren't a super popular product, and a lot of them just kind of sat on shelves and they never moved, and not a lot of people kept them sealed. So guess what? Here we are 8-9 years further down the road, and you can barely find them. So if you want one, again, you've got to pony up big bucks for it. So that's one of the things that I'm always talking about on this channel, right? I'm always saying, hey, listen, it's okay to use your core and explore. My core process right now is I'm investing a lot in Sword and Shield era booster boxes because I think the window of opportunity there is closing very quickly. But in my explore space, I'm looking for those next Pokemon Elite Trainer boxes. I don't know what they are. If I did, obviously I'd share that with you all, but I'm looking at other products that I think might be overlooked right now that could give us some great returns in the future, because when you want to be an all-star investor, like that's what you got to do. Core and explore. Keep your core portfolio, things that you know will do really well, but then don't be afraid to explore a little bit and look for those next big, underloved Elite Trainer boxes that are going to give you huge gains in the future. So what I thought would be really cool is we will go by era and just see how prices have moved, and we'll throw some comparisons up there and just have a ton of fun with this video. So if you've made it this deep into this, I'm going to tell you, you're going to love the rest of it, and I think you'll really enjoy the channel. So hit that subscribe button if you haven't. If you like what you see, give us a thumbs up. If you have questions or comments, drop them down below. This is always a hot button topic for whatever reason, so I always love to hear what you guys think when we're talking about things like this. So the very next slide right here is going to be what I said, and we're going to look at the Sword and Shield era. Now again, Sword and Shield we have to take with a huge grain of salt, right? Because a lot of the Elite Trainer boxes are still in stock. A lot of the Pokemon Center exclusive Elite Trainer boxes are still in stock. Even a lot of the booster boxes are still in stock. So we just got to take it with a grain of salt. But that was the exact same scenario a while ago, right? When we did this video last time. What was interesting to me is Silver Tempest. Lost Origin is probably flat. It is down about $1 or $2. Battle Styles and Sword and Shield base, all those booster boxes are actually down in price. Now, again, that doesn't concern me at all. We got to wait for Sword and Shield to be officially done. We got to wait for all of it to be sold out in order to see what the Sword and Shield era is going to do. But it was interesting that those 4 booster boxes are actually down from when we did this video last time. Now, no surprise, Evolving Skies is the big story. Evolving Skies is shaping up to be the team up, if you will, of the Sword and Shield era, but don't sleep on Fusion Strike. Fusion Strike booster boxes are at $200 right now, which is absolutely insane. So for this slide right here, as you can see, booster boxes have absolutely dominated, except when you get into the Vivid Voltage, Rebel Clash type stage right there. But Rebel Clash is a great example of a product. It's an Elite Trainer box, right? There just wasn't a lot of them that were produced, even though Rebel Clash is not what any of us would consider a really strong set by any means, right? I think it might be considered, one of the, if not the lowest tier set in the entire Sword and Shield era. But because the booster box was hard to find, because there are people who want because the Elite Trainer box was hard to find, because the Elite Trainer box is not readily available out there, it's still going for $150. Now that's down from $168 where it was a while ago, but still $150 for a Rebel Clash booster box, and that is not even a set that excites any of us out there. So really interesting to see that Elite Trainer boxes are down 5% 14.5%. Booster boxes are up 14.5%, and even my favorite right now, the Pokemon Center exclusive ETBs, even they are down 2% since the last time we did this video. Now, things get really interesting when we start looking at the Sun and Moon block, and here was where I said the gap that was present a while ago when we did it originally is starting to close. Remember how I said the Elite Trainer boxes in the Sun and Moon block were just absolutely crushing life? Well, they've still done relatively well. They're up 6% over the time frame, but booster boxes are up 24.2%. Absolutely crazy growth in the booster box space here. Now, when you look at it, Elite Trainer boxes still have a better annualized rate of return, but I'm telling you that gap is closing, and if you throw in space and if you throw in the size of the boxes, like, booster boxes are one of the best investments you can have out there. I'm not telling you anything you don't already know. One of the interesting things is that all of the booster boxes are up, but not all of the Elite Trainer boxes are up. The other thing that was interesting too was Ultra Prism had the lead, like the Elite Trainer box in the Ultra Prism space was the one with the highest rate of return, but the booster box is now flipped to green, and booster box gives you the highest rate of return. So it's going to be very interesting to see how this plays out. Now, I did have one thought too as I was looking at this information, and I thought, okay, booster boxes have been going up, right? They're up 24% in the Sun and Moon block, and Elite Trainer boxes are only up 6%. As the booster boxes start to get more and more expensive, are we going to see some attention start to turn onto those Elite Trainer boxes? Like, I don't know how many people are out there willing to pony up $700 for an or for a booster box, or $800 for a booster box, but it might be more approachable when you look at some of these. Lost Thunder Elite Trainer box, $177. Unified Minds Elite Trainer box, $288. You know, it just goes on and on. So for me, it's going to be interesting to do another look back in 6 months and say, hey, listen, did this flip a little bit? As the booster boxes get higher and higher, do collectors start snagging up some of those Elite Trainer boxes? That's going to be interesting, and that's why this channel exists, and that's why we do these data dives. So the next one we're going to talk about here is the XY era, and in the XY space, the Elite Trainer boxes kind of reign supreme again. But again, as I said in the very beginning, remember, you know, Elite Trainer boxes in the XY era, you can't compare it to Sun and Moon, you can't compare it to Sword and Shield. Like, the product just came out, the Pokemon company had no idea how, you know, popular it would be, so they didn't make a ton of them, and it wasn't incredibly popular. Certainly nobody was keeping them sealed, so you got to take that with a big grain of salt. But when you look at this, look, the Elite Trainer boxes have absolutely crushed over time. Now, the interesting thing is every Elite Trainer box and booster box, with the exception of the Ancient Origin booster box and the XY Evolutions Elite Trainer box, are up. Every single one is up. That is absolutely, again, it just goes to speak to the power of sealed. If you watch this channel, I'm not telling you anything you don't already know, but when you see looking back even 8-9 years, when you see looking back in the Sun and Moon era, when you see looking at how of these, you know, Sword and Shield boxes are performing right now, even though some of them are down, when you see this kind of historical data, it's just got to make you feel really good. Now, I will say this, I still think, even at their prices right now, even Roaring Skies at $626 a booster box, Fates Collide coming in at $500, I think they are flying way under the radar. Roaring Skies has all kinds of Rayquaza cards in there. I absolutely love that set. It's $626. It's still a little too rich for my blood, but if you're out there and you're flush with Poke Cash, I think that is a great set that's going to do well in the long run, and I certainly think Fates Collide is going to do the exact same thing. It's an Umbreon set. It's got some great cards in it, and I'm fascinated it's still under $500. So listen, is there a next XY era Elite Trainer box out there? Probably. I know some people are thinking that maybe the booster bundles for the specialty sets are going to be, you know, this big product, and I think that they're going to grow a whole lot in the future. I'm not sure on that. I understand it's great, it's epic, but you know, you can find it at Target and on Amazon. You can find it on the Pokemon Center. Like, you can find it in a Best Buy, right? You can find it in all kinds of retail outlets. So we will have to see what ends up being the supreme, or maybe none of them will. Who knows? But I do know it's going to be a ton of fun to watch, and I do know I'm going to continue to warehouse this data, and I promise you that maybe in 4 months or 6 months, we'll come back and look at this again and see if any of these Elite Trainer box or booster boxes have flip positions, because this is just really cool information to keep an eye on. So hey, listen, I hope you enjoyed the content. I hope you found value in it. If you haven't, hit that subscribe button. We do cool stuff like this all the time. If you like what you see, give us a thumbs up. Questions or comments, drop them down below. I appreciate you more than you know. I hope you have an epic one. I'll talk to you soon. See you later, everybody. Bye.